Hey, what's up guys, Omogonix here and welcome to part 21 of my tutorial series where I teach you guys how to make a first-person horror game in Godot. We are getting closer and closer to the end of this series. We'll probably be done in literally probably a part or two now. So if you guys do enjoy, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and let's get right into it. So first off, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be adding a splash screen for the game. So if I go click play here, right, you'll notice a splash screen show up. So as you just saw there was like a Godot engine splash screen which just showed up. And basically that's what we're going to be editing first of all today. So how we edit the splash screen for when we start the game is we go project settings, and then in the boot splash, this is where we can change up our stuff. So with the BG color, this is the background color of the splash screen. So if I was to change this to blue, for example, or actually no, we'll go with red since it will better show on the Godot logo. So if I was to change the BG color to red, then click play, as you can see, the splash screen was now a red color with the Godot engine logo in front of it. So if we go back to the boot splash settings, with the image here, you can select an image. So if I was to say, for example, select my my game dev logo, so new logo, have that set, then we go close, play, and boom, now as you saw, the splash screen showed up there for a quick second. So yeah, so sometimes the splash screen will only show up for a second, so you know, it's not really the most important thing, but in case you do want to change your splash screen, that is how you do that. Now, I'm not going to go having my splash screen BG color be red. I'm going to have it black, just a pure black, to suit with my logo style. And there we go. Alright, so next up I'm going to be adding in my game dev intro. If you've played one of my games before, you would know that I do have like an intro for my games, where it basically might show my logo or something like that. Alright, so for this game dev logo intro, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new scene, and it is going to be a user interface scene. So I'm just going to call this game dev intro, because it's going to be like the intro for me. And then I'm going to create a new folder here. It's going to be a videos folder because I have a video already made up of my intro. So if you guys want to make up your own, like, you know, game dev intro, I'll show you guys the one I've made up. Alright, so this is my game dev intro which I'll be using. It's just like this. So if you guys want to make your own game dev intro, be sure to go ahead and do that if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. It could even just be a simple image. It doesn't even have to be a video. But yeah. Now, one thing to take note of when it comes to your game dev intro, right? If you're doing a video like me, it needs to be exported as an OGV file. And if you don't know how to do that, there are online converters out there where you can go convert from MP4 to OGV, or you could even use VLC Media Player to convert it as well, since VLC Media Player has a converter. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to teach you guys how to actually convert from MP4 to an OGV. So let's get right to it. So first of all, if you do want to do the offline solution of converting, I do recommend that you download VLC Media Player, since that's what I'm going to be using to convert here. I will leave a link in the description below if you guys do want to use VLC Media Player. So let's say, for example, you've made your game dev intro video and now you want to convert it so then you can actually use it in Godot, because if you try drag the MP4 one into Godot, it's not going to end up in there. Well, here's what we do. So when you open up VLC Media Player, you go Media, Convert Save, Add, and now we need to add in our video file. Alright, so I've just added in my video file called gameintro.mp4, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the arrow here, go Convert, and now with the profile, I'm going to change this to Video Fiora plus Vorbis OGG. So you want to set it to this one. However, we're not going to be using OGG for the file format. It needs to be specifically OGV. Do keep that in mind. So now we're going to go into the settings here. Alrighty. So with our settings, with the video codec, you can, you know, select what you want. You can change up the settings if you want to here. If you find after converting and exporting your video that the file size ends up being larger, then you can of course change the bitrate here to make sure that the bitrate is lower and that you don't end up having such a ballooned file size. So I'm going to leave mine at 8,000 for now. I mean, mine's just a very simple video, so it's not even going to really, you know, be going at this rate anyway. But, you know, we'll just see how this goes. And then if it ends up being too large, then we can, you know, put it down. So now with the audio, I've found that sometimes there can be issues when converting to an OGV and having the audio enabled, so I always have the audio disabled on a video. If I ever make a video to use in a Godot game, right, and I have audio with it, what I always do is I make sure that I have the audio in an MP3 file, and then I add that as an audio stream player into my scene, and then, you know, I have that on autoplay as the video plays in the scene too. So do keep that in mind. I do recommend probably having the audio turned off on your video. Make sure that your audio is in a separate MP3 file, which you can use in an audio stream player. So after setting those settings, we can just go save of this, and then we need to browse to where we want to actually save the file. I'm just going to save it into my video captures folder here. So one thing which is important is you want to switch this to all instead of OGG, and then at the end of this file name you want to type .ogv. Alright, and then we go save, and then now it's going to convert. Alright, so now we simply wait until it's done, and then now here is my video. So as you can see, the type of file is an OGV file. It's only 2 megabytes, so that is really good. And now let's actually watch it. And boom, as you can see, it all works. So this here is our OGV file that we're going to be using in Godot. So if you're making a video like me and you've got it all converted, now you can actually add it into your Godot project. So I'm just going to go drag this in, and there we go. Now it is actually dragged in. So if we actually go check now, as you can see, it is now recognized as an actual video stream. So in my game dev intro scene, I'm going to go add child node, and we're going to add a video stream player. And then we're going to then select our video stream, and there we go. Another thing that I should have also mentioned as well is that when you are converting your video, I'll probably add some text earlier on in the video to mention this, because I forgot to mention this earlier with my own voice, but make sure that you do have your video frame when you're converting it set to whatever your viewport width and height is in Godot. So by default in Godot, the default viewport width and height is 1152 by 648. So whenever I convert my videos to OGV, I always do 1152 by 648. So do keep that in mind. I do think you guys should keep that in mind. And since my video is pretty much the perfect size, when I added it into my video stream player, it pretty much just fills up the entire video stream thingy here. Now I am going to go autoplay, since I want this to play at the start, and now I'm going to go save it into my UI scene as well, into my UI scenes folder. Now, I don't have any audio which I wish to play with this intro, so I am just going to leave it be silent. I'm not going to add an audio stream player to it, but if you do plan on having a sound with your intro, this is where you would add in your MP3 file to an audio stream player and have that auto play as well. But yeah, so I'm just going to get rid of that because I don't need it. But anyways, so now with this game dev intro, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add my warning script to the scene here. And the reason as to why we're using the warning script is because it's pretty reusable with how it works. So basically we just input a custom wait time, then we input, a scene path for the scene to then switch over to. So yeah. So for this video, I'm not sure what the video length is. The video it's about 5 seconds long. So I think for my custom time here, I'm just going to set this to /maybe 5.5 seconds. And then for the scene path, I want it to load into the warning screen. Alright, so I'm going to do res .. / and then we're going to be getting the path to the warning screen, so it is scenery. I don't know why I include that in my my scenery folder. I could have just included my UI folder. I don't know why I did the scenery folder, but anyways. Warning.tscn. And there we go. So now, after 5.5 seconds in the game dev intro, the warning screen will then load. And because the game dev intro, I want this to be the first scene that loads in now, I'm actually going to set this to my default scene. So I'm going to go game dev intro, and then set this as main scene, and there we go. So if I go play now... Oh, wait a second. I forgot something here. So as you can see, with our warning screen, it actually grabs an animation player from a canvas layer. Now, I don't actually have a canvas layer in this scene, or an animation player. So what I'm going to do here in my warning script is I'm going to go if has node, So we're checking if the canvas layer exists. In fact, more specifically, we'll check if the animation player of that canvas layer exists. So if has node canvas layer animation player, then what will happen is we'll then play the fade animation from that canvas layer animation player. And boom. So now we shouldn't get any more errors. Now if we go play, now the game dev intro starts, as you can see, and then it moves on to the warning screen. So yeah, that all works out pretty well. Alright, so another thing which I need to do, I need to go into my credits scene. So I want to add into my credits that this game was made for a tutorial, so I'm just going to copy the text here, so I just pressed Ctrl D to duplicate it. You guys don't, of course, have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just adding this in for my game, just to give some people some extra context, in case they don't know why this game exists. This game was made for a tutorial series on my YouTube channel, where I consider checking me out on YouTube. And then what I'm going to have here is I'm actually going to have a link which actually goes to my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to do something sort of similar where you might include, like, you know, your social media or something like that in your credits or something like that, if you do want to include that, well, let me show you guys how to do that. So first of all, I am going to add a button. So I'm just going to go add child node button, and we're just going to place this right here. And now what I'm thinking of doing for my button is just having take me to YouTube written here. But another thing which you guys can do is you can add an icon if you want to. So let's say, for example, you might want to have like a YouTube icon instead of having some text. You can do that. You can just go where it says icon here, empty, and then we can actually just select a random image. So if I was to select stone.png, as you can see, now we have an icon here. So if you want to include an icon too, you can totally do that. But I think I'm just going to have some words which just say, take me to YouTube. And then in the theme overrides, I am going to change the font size and the font itself. Might set this to a light font. Actually, maybe an extra light font, or maybe something bolder. Yeah, we'll do bold. Alrighty, so now let's actually make this button function. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a script for this button specifically. And we're going to go new script. I'm going to save it into my general scripts folder, and I'm going to call this URL button, because just in case you want to use this for other buttons as well, then, well, you can have just a script for it which you can include on each button. So let's go create, and boom. So now what I'm going to do in this script first of all is I'm going to enter export var link. So this will basically be the link that you want to open with the button. So it's going to be a string variable, so here is just where you would enter your link. Then we have func pressed button, we can call this. Doesn't really matter what you call this function. Alright, so now whenever we click on the button, here's what we want to do. We want to do OS, so we're going to be grabbing the OS, then open shell, or shell open I think it is. I think it's shell open. And then here we enter in our URL. So for me, it will be https://youtube.com/@Omogonix, I believe. That's how YouTube does the links, I think. But anyways, so we're going to test it out and see how it all goes. So there we go. So basically, whenever we press the button, it will open up my YouTube link. Now, of course, since we have this link variable here, we won't be putting in the actual link itself there. I'll just be putting in the link there, and then where I'll be entering in the link is into here. So the reason as to why I'm doing this again is just so in case you guys want to include multiple links. I'm just showing you guys how you can make, you know, just a script which you can reuse for all of your buttons, which you might want to go to different links. So yeah, so now all that's left to do is to go onto our button, go to the node tab here, go onto the press signal, and then assign the function. So pressed button is the function. And there we go. And boom. Alrighty, so now there is only one thing left to do, and that's to test it all out. So let's go play, and then we'll go into credits, take me to YouTube, and then it opens up my YouTube channel just like that. So now I am now on my YouTube channel. Another thing which I need to do is I need to go into my my controls menu. So I'm going to go in my controls scene, and I think I need to add a control for the zoom function, because I forgot to do that, because I forgot that I added a zoom function into the game, so I need to actually add a control for that. So RMB, just simply meaning right mouse button, zoom. So yeah, there we go. Alright, so something which I've been talking about for a number of parts now is how I need to fix up the trapdoor key positions, since I made a mistake when including the positions in the array for the key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my level scene, and I'm going to find the key. There it is. And basically what I want to do now is I want to remove all of the random positions from this array which are not, you know, upstairs, because I think there's some downstairs positions which are causing some issues, which are causing the key to spawn downstairs instead of upstairs, therefore not allowing the player to actually go open the trapdoor, because they need a key to open it. So let's fix that up. So what I'm going to do to check this is I'm going to search up my random positions, just like that. And we'll see which ones are upstairs and which ones are downstairs, and the ones which I realize are downstairs in the array, we'll then remove from the array. Alright, so 18 is downstairs, 17, 16, 20, 19, 15. So yeah, you know, bug fixing, polishing, all that sort of stuff. It's very important a part of game development. That's why I like to show this sort of thing in my tutorial, just so then you guys can sort of see how I go about things, because, you know, it's not like when you make a function for a game, or, well, whatever you do for your game, it's not like that's going to be the final version, you know what I mean? You're going to have to refine it over time, you know, like you might make a gun for your game, but then as your game continues to develop, you'll find yourself refining that gun over time, and making sure that that gun is really how you want it to work. Sometimes your direction of the game might change, all that sort of stuff. I know that sometimes I can ramble in these tutorials, but again, I like to, you know, just explain things to you guys as well, since I think that giving tips and information is also an important part of these tutorials too. Alright, so my random positions upstairs, so it seems like all the downstairs one are 15 and below. So I'm going to go to my key again, and now let's check these positions. So 8 is good, 7, 6, 18, we'll remove 18, remove 17, remove 16, remove 20, remove 19, remove 15. Alright, so I think all these positions that are left now are all of the upstairs positions, I believe. So I think that now it is okay for me to set this trapdoor here back to locked. So I'm just going to go on my trapdoor hinge, set that back to locked, and there we go. Now the game can function as normal again with the trapdoor. Alright, so something else which I've been talking about for, I believe, a few parts now, or I think I mentioned it in the last part. Basically, with the settings menu, I forgot to actually set button presses on that. So in the settings menu, we are going to do that. Alright, so with my player UI script and my main menu script, they both contain the interact and hover audio stream players. So what I'll be able to do from my settings menu is go get parent, get node, and then interact or hover depending on what I want to. Now, I've already set the hover sounds for the settings, so I don't really need to worry about that at all. But what I do need to do is I need to set the button press sounds, so let's get to that. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to go into my settings menu, and so with my set volumetric setting here, I'm just simply going to go get underscore parent dot get underscore node interact dot play. So then whenever we are setting this setting, then the interact sound plays, and we're going to do the same thing. So I just copied this line of code here, the interact sound play, and I'm just going to paste it in all of my settings functions which are used to set settings, just like this. Alrighty, and there we go. So one issue which we might face, and I know this because, you know, this happens to me all the time whenever I do this for my settings menus, but whenever you load into a scene, right, because we have it so then all of our settings get set at the start of the scene, so what you're going to notice is our interact sound is actually going to play all the time at the very start of the scene, and if you don't want it to happen, and if you don't want the interact sound to play at the very start of your scene because all your settings are being set, and so it's just going to play the interact sound at the very start of your scene, well, here's what we can do about that. So we're going to create a new variable, and we're going to call this canPlaySound. And we're going to make this equal to false at first. However, after all the settings are set, then we can do canPlaySound equals true. And so what we're going to do in all of our settings, so with our set volumetrics, for example, above our interact play line, we're going to do if canPlaySound, and this will make sure that the interact the interact sound will only play if can play sound equals to true, and this will stop the interact play sound from playing at the very start of the scene all the time. So then we just do that below, and again, just like that. Now something else which we could have done too is we could have just included the interact sound into its own function, but oh well, we've already done what we've done anyway. You know, it all still works the same. But I only just thought of that. I was like, you know, it would have probably taken me a bit quicker time to just create a function with just, you know, them 2 lines of code in it. That would have probably been quicker, but oh well. Alright, so now that we've got the settings button sounds all set, let's actually go test them out now. So I'm gonna go play. Alright, so now let's test out the settings. First off, I need to turn up the master volume. So as you can see, whenever I change the master volume setting, you can hear that click sound, that interact sound. And yeah, so now we have interact sounds for whenever we actually change up our settings. Alrighty, so the next thing which I want to do is I want to tidy up some nodes in my scene, since I do like to make sure that all my nodes and stuff are tidy. So first off, here are my level scene. With my task triggers, I'm going to put them underneath a parent node. So I'm going to select both my task triggers here and then reparent them underneath a different parent node. And I'm just going to call this task triggers. There we go. And then with our wind ambience sounds here, or ambient sounds, however you want to pronounce it, just put them under ambient sounds, just like that. And basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to lessen up all the clutter that you see. So with these trees here, I already have them under a parent node. With these destinations here for the AI, I'll put them underneath a new parent node as well. I'll just call them AI destinations. Do keep in mind as well that when you do reparent nodes and stuff like that, if you're like referencing any nodes in your scripts, right, and you're doing the $sign method of grabbing the node or the get_node method of getting a node, then you might need to go into your code and then add the extra parent node that you just added, so then you can grab that node which you're referring to in the script. So let's say, for example, you're trying to grab one of your task triggers, right? So you'd go, you know, get_tree.current_scene.getNode task trigger. Well, once you've, you know, added that task triggers parent node onto it, you might then need to add task triggers / out the front of task trigger in the script. I don't think there's anything that I need to change up though, so I'm just going to leave everything as normal. I think that this is fine. But yeah. Also in my house scene here, in my regular house scene, I'm just going to put these blood decals underneath a parent node as well. And then with the body parts, we can put these underneath a parent node too. Just put body_parts, just like that, and boom. Alright, so I think overall, our nodes in the level and house scene are sorted out pretty well. Like, you know, there's, you know, not a there's not like a tiny scroll bar where then we've got lots of nodes to scroll down and look at. You know, we can just see everything correctly here, and then if we do need to check anything, you know, we just click the drop down and then we can see our nodes, which are children of that. But yeah, so overall, yeah, it's very good to keep your scenes tidy, no matter what game you're making. Just so then things are easier to find as well. Also, it helps to make sure that you have things named. Alright, so another thing which I wanted to do in this part is I wanted to actually readjust the visuals of the game, because it's been something that I've been wanting to do for a while now, is readjust the visuals of the game. So what I'm planning on doing is, instead of using SDFGI as the method of global illumination here, I want to try out maybe using reflection probes or voxel GI. So if you're someone who doesn't know about reflection probes or voxel GI, then this video might help you learn about them too. But yeah, so I am going to just try out a few things, see, you know, what works best. Because, I mean, that is game development at the end of the day, trial and error. You know, sometimes you might want to change up how your game looks, or just adjust certain particular details or whatever, but yeah. So anyways, let's get right to it. So, you know, I've disabled SDFGI. And now I'm going to add in a reflection probe. So in order to add in a reflection probe, I'm just going to select my level scene here. Then I'm going to go click on the add child node, search up reflection probe, and there. So now we have a reflection probe added. I'm just going to turn on gizmos so then we can see it, and there it is. Alrighty, so now we have a reflection probe. Now if we were to just drag this into here, for example, as you can actually see, there is now reflectiveness applied over here. So yeah, one thing to remember with materials is that, you know, if you want something to be more reflective, you just change the roughness of it. Let's actually see how this looks at 0. And yeah, that is a lot more reflective there. But yeah, so as you can see with the TV now, you can actually see the reflection of the reflection probe inside of it. Now I am going to have my roughness just set back to 0.1 here. But yeah, so if you want to use reflection probes, they're definitely a good option to use. Anyways, so for the size of this, I think I'm just going to have it cover up a certain amount. So yeah, anything where the green goes past is what's going to be included in the reflection probe. So if you want to enable box projection, you can do that as well. As you can see, the reflections sort of move now inside of the TV. But if you don't have box projection enabled, the reflections just sort of stay in one place. But yeah, I do only really recommend box projection for more boxy rooms or more boxy projections you're trying to do. But yeah, I mean, it probably does work here with the TV. Yeah, I guess we could use it with this. And also you can enable shadows on reflection probes as well. Not really that necessary, but you can if you want to. And then we have the cull mask. So basically the cull mask determines, what layers the reflection probe is going to reflect. So if you have meshes that are on visual layer 2, but they're not on 1, if you were to just disable 1, then only the layers on visual layer 2 would then be reflected in the reflection probe. Or it could be the other way around. Maybe you do have, certain things which you don't want to be reflected in the reflection probe, so you'll set them onto a different layer. Then you can just disable that layer on the cull mask, and then them things won't be reflected on the reflection probe. And then the reflection mask, I'm pretty sure this determines what objects would actually have the reflections applied to them. If you want to learn more about these, of course, you can just hover over them. As you can see for the reflection mask, it says, sets the reflection mask, which determines what objects have reflections applied from this probe. So the cull mask determines what objects are going to be drawn by the reflection probe. And then this determines what objects are actually going to reflect the probe. You can also change the update mode of a reflection probe, so if you want it to just update once at the start of a scene you can, or if you want it to always update you can, but I usually just recommend doing this, just the once. You can also change the intensity of it, so depending on how intense you want your reflections to be. Alright, so now I'm going to actually duplicate the reflection probe and then move it over to here. You can tell where a reflection probe starts and ends as well. As you can see here, there's actually a line which basically sort of cuts off from where the first reflection probe is, and then, the next lot. Yeah, you can easily tell from the seams here in the walls. Alright, so I've got a reflection probe in the living room, and we're also going to have a reflection probe here as well, which will cover up this kitchen room here. And I do like the way reflection probes reflect things a bit more than SDFGI in this situation. Because SDFGI is still good, it just depends on what sort of scene you're making. But yeah, look at how things reflect on each of, the models now. Also, I just realized as well, the floor goes really low. Wow. I probably need to fix that up on the first one too. Alright, so I've just had to fix up the reflection probe 1 roof and the flooring as well, because it turned out that they were all super high. I need to do the same for the second one too. Need to fix things up here, get things more grounded in reality. Also, is this navmesh thing being reflected here? I swear it is. I might have to fix that up. But yes, overall, the reflections are all reflecting pretty well. I do like how the reflection probes apply reflections in this house. Also, I'm pretty sure reflection probes too actually blend. So if I move that a bit further, let's disable gizmos. As you can see, these are more blended now. Because before, as you can see, there's actually sort of a cut between reflection probe 1 and 2. But then as we moved them together, it blended. So if you move one reflection probe closer to another, it will actually blend them reflection probes together. So that is another cool thing about reflection probes as well. Right, let's actually do a third reflection probe now. And by the way, how many reflection probes you include in your scene as well can depend on like the performance of your system too. Since, you know, the more reflection probes you have, that would probably, you know, take up more memory, of course. Now, usually in most of my games, I only ever really include one reflection probe per scene. It's not like, you know, that's the limit of what you need to stick to. That's just what I do because of how I structure my games and stuff. But in this tutorial, I am trying to make the reflections more accurate, so that's why I'm using multiple reflection probes. But yeah, I mean, it is something which you can do, of course. You can have multiple reflection probes. If you want to learn more about it, I will include links below to a documentation related to reflection probes and how, you know, you can have multiple of them blend together and stuff. So now we're just doing one here in this room. And also the box projection would work here nicely too. Alright, so now the room is being reflected, but I just spotted here that you can clearly see where reflection 2 and 3 cut off from each other. So if I was to move reflection probe 3 a bit closer to 2, wherever the thingy is to do that, there we go. Now we can actually blend them together more. And there we go, now they're blended. So yeah, I don't even think I am actually going to try out a voxel GI in this tutorial, since I think that the reflection probes are going to do just right for me, honestly, with this game. So now let's do another reflection probe. We're going to duplicate number 2 here, and it's going to be for just the end of this hall. Alright, I think this reflection probe is going to be good as well. Ooh, we might need to blend these a bit more together. And yeah, now they're more blended. Alrighty, nice. So yeah, if you notice your reflection probes not blending properly, then you just gotta drag them more into each other, then they actually start to blend more. Alrighty, so now I'm actually going to do a fifth reflection probe in this scene, in this room here. Alrighty, I'd say that this one looks pretty neat too. Alright, nice. So now I've got this room all good. So even if you don't really have anything like reflective in your room, right? It is still good to add a reflection probe just to make sure that, you know, anything that may have, you know, some smoothness on it can have just a bit of a better look to it. You know what I mean? Like, look at how much better the metal material of the doorknob here looks, and just the lighting in general looks a lot better when we have the reflection probe here. Like, the light just looks like it makes more sense, you know what I mean? Now the bathroom. This is the one which I'm probably most excited about. So let's get to it. And the reason as to why I'm most excited about this is because we have a mirror here, so we can actually see some reflective stuff. So let's just go duplicate reflection probe number 5, move that in here, and oh wow, look at this already. Anyways, view gizmos. Because of the box projection we're doing, it's causing our bin here to look a bit distorted, but if we disable box projection, then it just looks like this. But actually box projection probably would make a bit more sense. But, you know, we'll see. You guys, we got this. I think everything is in its correct place. I should probably extend this out a bit more though to blend it. There we go, now it's all blended. By the way guys, if you ever want to change the point of where the reflection itself actually reflects from, you can change what is called the origin offset. So this middle bit here, where all the sides of the reflection probe actually connect up to, what you can do is you can actually change the origin offset, and as you can see, it changes the position of where the reflection probe is actually reflected from. So if you want it to be closer to the ground, you can. You can actually see the difference more when you have box projection off, but yeah. And then you can change like the X and Z values as well. It almost looks like you're playing like some old retro game. You know, that's actually an idea. If you ever wanted to do like a game within a game, and you wanted to, you know, make it look like the player was playing some old retro game, just use a reflection probe on like a very smooth mirror object or something. There you go, there's an idea for you guys. But yeah, let's actually see how... Oh, enable shadows definitely does make things look better in this room here, because with enable shadows off, things look just very, very bright. But when you enable the shadows on a reflection probe here, it actually does look better. Also, you can actually change the mesh LOD threshold inside of a mirror as well. So if you want the mirror to save performance and you want the meshes to be lower quality, you can just change this option here. and then it will make the meshes lower quality. As you can see, the toilet here in my side looks fine, but then on the reflection probe it looks a lot more, a lot more less quality. Alright, so now I'm doing the downstairs part. So let's see how this ends up looking. So with this reflection probe here, I think I'm going to make this cover up this like entire area here. Or no, maybe just up to here. Alright, we're going to do another reflection probe now. Put it over here. Yeah, I really like the lighting that the reflection probes has been applying. It is really, really good. I like it more than the SDFGI. Alright, so before I do end this tutorial, I am just going to place a few more reflection probes around, then I'm going to end it. We have reflection probe number 8 here now. Now let's go to number 9. And there is a bit more I wanted to do in this tutorial as well before I do end it, but unfortunately I just don't really have enough time. However, in the next part, I do want to continue on with the reflection probes again, because one thing which we'll need to do is if you are using reflection probes like me, and you have the switchable light switches like me, you will need to make sure that your reflection probes update accordingly. So we'll doing some scripting for that. Well, so there's definitely a few more we could do. The last one I'll be doing for today is number 10 inside of this room, and then I'm going to call it quits. And then we'll continue on in part 22. So anyways guys, thank you all for watching this video. Hopefully you all did enjoy. This tutorial. If you did, be sure to like, comment and subscribe for more. Another thing which I want to talk about is how I've actually got a Ko-Fi membership tiers now. So if you do want to go check out my Ko-Fi page and support me there, you can. There's a few different benefits you get from subscribing to the membership tiers there. Now you can actually see the reflections in his eyes. So if I enable disable, yeah, then you can see the safe being reflected as well. So anyways, again guys, thank you all for watching. Check out my Ko-Fi if you want to consider supporting me. Go check out my games on my itch.io page. See you all soon, and bye bye.